Hello and welcome back to Smut and Stockinette. Today I'm super I'm super excited to be doing this trend. This is like kind of my first booktube trend video, I guess, sort of, but we are going to be doing 25 books I want to read in 2025, and this actually took me so long to plan out because there's just so many good books and I have so many books I want to read, but I have my list on my iPad and we're going to super quickly talk about the 25 books I am planning to read in 2025. It's obviously not the only books I'm going to read in 2025, of course, but these are the 25 books that I really want to prioritize in 2025. So let's go ahead and start with the first one, and I have them kind of like organized based on the number of ratings on Goodreads. So like the most popular, I guess, ones are kind of first, and then the least popular ones are later on. So these might be a little bit shocking for some people as well. So buckle up, because I'm not very good at reading hyped books. So some of these are pretty hyped and they've been hyped for a while. So the first book is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I only started reading Emily Henry books this year, and I'm slowly making my way through her backlist. It's not a huge backlist, so there's like not a ton to read anyway. But I feel like People We Meet on Vacation was like her first big book. And I haven't read it. So that is one that I want to prioritize from her in 2025 because I still haven't. And the next book is In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. I've been starting to kind of dabble a little bit in the magical realism trope or genre, I guess, subgenre. And this one has come very, very highly recommended. In this one, we're following our main character. She wakes up one day and she is 5 years in the future, which is ironically 2025, which I think is really fun. She wakes up in 5 years and there's a different man sleeping next to her. There's a ring on her finger and she doesn't know who this man is. And she spends like, I want to say it's like an hour, and then she wakes up again and she is back in her like regular timeline. And so she is trying to figure out what changes in her life, that because she's like currently engaged to somebody different, and she's trying to figure out what changed in her life to get her to that point like 5 years in the future. And then she sees the man that she had like woken up with in 2025, and so it's kind of like a little bit of a I know I'm with you with the future, but like why, which I think is really, really intriguing. All right, the next one is If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan, maybe it's Nolan. This one is one that, again, I've heard a lot about, but I've also heard mixed things about. The blurb definitely gives like emotional trauma vibes, like it's gonna rip my heart out, but also some of my friends' reviews say that they expected it to be emotional, but it wasn't, and that they were missing that part. So I'm definitely curious to see where I land on that. I'm a very emotional person, like I cry a lot. So I'm curious to see where I kind of land in the camp for this one, if I enjoy it or if I think that it is just kind of like missing something. But the blurb leaves a lot to the imagination. You basically know that there was some kind of car accident, and that like the reason they got in an accident, like nobody actually knows the truth, kind of. And so the narrator, like the, I guess, main character, is like explaining to us as readers like what really caused this whole thing to happen. So it definitely has like some suspense vibes to it. I think it also stands noting that this one was published in 2013, so it may have aged a little bit poorly as well. I know when I read, or when I like tried to read the Pretty Little Liars series, I really struggled with the writing a bit because it was published so long ago that it just didn't like hold up the test of time. So I'm curious to see kind of how I feel about the writing style for this one. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I apologize for the super hype books that I haven't read yet, but I don't live under a rock. But I also do still need to read Flawless by Elsie Silver, which is the next book on my 25 in 2025 list. In this one, we are following a professional bull rider and his quote-unquote new babysitter who is assigned to kind of keep him out of trouble, but this new babysitter is also his agent's daughter. So we've got a little bit of a forbidden situation, like, oh, she's kind of off limits type of vibe. And other than the Eden series, which I wouldn't even really classify as like cowboy, I haven't read anything that's like a cowboy romance. So I'm definitely intrigued to get the like Western vibes and see how I feel. I have watched Yellowstone. Not that that's like a pure like depiction of that kind of part of the United States, but I do love Rip, so I'm hoping that this guy gives Rip energy. All right, the next one might have you also screaming at the screen, but that is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This one came out a while ago, and there's like 6 books in the series, and I have not even started it yet. I'm pretty sure the 6th book like just came out this year as well. So I'm definitely behind. I know. But this is the first book in, I believe it's the Never After series, and it is all like a reimagining of classic fairy tales where the villains kind of more so win over like the traditional heroes that we're used to. So the main plot that I kind of could get from the blurb is that we're following 2 rivals, and the daughter of one of them kind of gets involved with the other one, and I'm not sure if she gets kidnapped by him or what, but I'm definitely intrigued to find out. And I know that this is a very beloved series, so I'm definitely curious to see kind of where all of that love comes from. All right, the next book on my list is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I know, I am one of those girlies who has never taken a picture with the Birthday Girl book on her birthday, but 2025, I'm gonna be that girl. I'm gonna get to take the picture. This one, we are following our main character, and she moves in with her boyfriend and his dad, and something happens with the boyfriend. Like, I'm not sure exactly, like they break up or something, because she ends up with her boyfriend's dad. So we've got age gap, we've got a little bit of like a taboo situation where like she was with his son previously. Yeah. And I have heard that this one is a super slow burn, but I am really hoping that the tension and the angst will keep it going for me, because I tend to lose focus if I'm not feeling like the sparks and the chemistry, especially with a slow burn. I love a good slow burn when it's done right, so I will definitely be curious to see how this one plays out. All right, next we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is a fairly new author to me. I've only read like one of the novellas when I did the Improbable Meet Cute series in a day, and I'll link that video here if you're curious about that one. But I haven't heard like, or I haven't read a full-length novel by her, and I know that she is one of those like auto-buy authors for so many accounts that I follow, so I know that people have a lot of big feelings about this book specifically. And this is another magical realism book. We are dealing with a situation where there's some kind of like time thing going on. How do I explain this? She's like living in her aunt's house. I'm guessing her aunt maybe passed away, and this guy just all of a sudden like shows up at her house, and he's from 7 years in the past, right? Yeah, he's 7 years in the past. Yeah, he's 7 years in the past. And she starts to fall for him, but he thinks it's like 7 years ago, and so I'm very intrigued. I recently read Ghosted by Sarah Reddy, which had that magical realism in it, and kind of like a similar vibe. Like, she moved into an apartment and this like ghost guy just like showed up. So I'm really intrigued by this one. I think it's going to be really fun and kind of like little bit of a mystery, but like not a mystery, if you know what I mean. Okay, into a hockey one. The next book on my list is Mile High by Liz Tomford. I know, I love hockey books, but I have not read this series yet, but I'm so excited to get started. It is definitely an intimidating one. The first book has like 600 pages, which is a chonker. Like, that's a lot It's a lot of pages. And so that's part of the reason why I think I've kind of put this one off a little bit. But in this book, we are following our main character, who is a flight attendant, and she ends up with this hockey badass on her flight, and things happen like they do. It's a romance. I've had this book on my TBR since early 2023. I'm not sure, I actually should have double checked when this series started, but I know that there was one published this year, so I know that it's not super old, but I've been waiting a while to get started on this one, and 2025, I'm coming for you. And in keeping with the sports theme, we are moving to rugby for this next one, and you might already know based on that clue, but the next one on my list is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh, and this one takes place in college, I believe. It's hard to tell. I actually literally on my notes wrote high school or college because I could not tell. It takes place in high school or college. I'm not positive, but we're following our main character. She is new at school, and she kind of like befriends or becomes involved or whatever with the like main rugby guy. I don't know what a rugby guy is called. Player? Probably just player. Oh my word. This one is giving really big friends to lovers vibes, which I can always appreciate. It's also very big. I believe this one's closer to 700 pages, so it's definitely a chunky one. So I'm really hoping that the tension and the buildup is worth the page count, because I tend to get a little bored if I'm not feeling it, especially with a big page count like that. All right, this next one's a little bit complicated, and it is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I actually previously started this book, I believe in 2022. I got about 5% in, and it was just like the wrong time. I was struggling to keep my focus. I was too distracted to like really give it a good chance. But I have so many friends who absolutely are obsessed with this series, and I was like, we gotta give it another try. We got to try it again, give it one more good try, good solid try. So I'm definitely gonna hopefully read this one in 2025. In this, we are following our main character, and she is in like an on again, off again relationship with her boyfriend, I guess. They're on and off. But there's like tons of drama. I'm pretty sure there's like cheating situations. Like basically they are in love with each other, but like refuse to like treat each other well. So we're talking serious toxic vibes, which is sometimes fun. So we'll see if I can get through it, hopefully in 2025. Next up, we have another chunker. We have Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I know, another big hyped one that I haven't read yet. I know, we're getting there. We're getting to them, I promise. I've had this one on my TBR since 2022, but again, it's close to 700 pages, which is intimidating, and it's a big commitment, and I just cannot commit to it. I don't know a ton about this one because the blurb doesn't really give a ton of information, but from what I can tell, it's some kind of second chance because the blurb does talk about a breakup. I love a good second chance when it's done right. It's one of my favorite tropes. I am going in pretty blind here, but I know so many people who love this one, so I'm really hoping that it's a hit for me. Next, we have Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie, another author duo that I've heard so many good things about. So many friends are obsessed with this series, and again, I'm behind the ball. I know. I'm working on it. I promise. This one, literally the blurb says for fans of Gossip Girl, Friends, and Euphoria, which is just like such an interesting trio to use as like a recommendation platform, but I'm so here for it. In this one, we are following our two main characters. Both are battling addiction. I don't necessarily know how they end up together. I'm guessing they meet like in some sort of addiction situation, like counseling or what have you. And basically they have to learn how to like not rely on each other as much as they relied on their addiction, which is obviously a struggle when you have that sort of like addictive personality. Based on kind of that beginning premise, I know that this is going to be a messy one. There's going to be drama. There's going to be like a heartbreak and battle, and I'm just so excited for it. I love that like real and raw aspect of books, and I think that this one is going to be a really good one for me. And another new author. I hope you guys are recognizing the new author trend. I'm really trying to kind of give those new authors that I'm dying to try a shot in 2025. So that being said, the next book on my 25 in 2025 list is The Wrong Bride by Katharina Mora. In this one, we are following our main character, and her sister does not show up for her wedding. She is being wed to like some billionaire mogul guy. And so her sister steps in as tribute, I guess, and marries him. And she's kind of like had a thing for him her whole life. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of friends to lovers situation in there. But it definitely sounds like there's going to be drama. And the next one I think might be the one that's been on my TBR the longest, and that is Rush by Maya Banks. This one was recommended to me by my sister back in 2021. And this is another one that I did start briefly. I think I only got like 5% in. My library hold expired and I was left hanging. But this one is a brother's best friend, and it's been described as 50 Shades of Grey but with better writing, so I'm definitely here for that. But it is brother's best friend. She just became legal, and it sounds like there's going to be some kind of situation. It also, because it's labeled as 50 Shades but better writing, I think there's going to be some BDSM in there as well. Next we have The Air He Breathes by Brittany Cherry. This one is not a new author, but I've only read one book from her and I absolutely loved it, so I'm excited to get more of her backlist in my read situation, or in my read column. I don't know what I was trying to say, but I'm excited to read more from her. There's not a ton in the blurb, but I can definitely tell that this is going to be drama-filled and damaged character journeys, which I always love. It makes the characters so real. I also have so many friends that gave this one 5 stars, so I'm just dying to get on the hype train and be able to talk books with my favorites. All right, next we have one. This is, again, not a new author, actually, after I just wax poetic about new authors being on my list. This one is not a new author, but this is her like fantasy debut, and that is Kingdom of Stars and Shadows, yep, by Holly Renee. And I've actually put this one on my TBR several times, and if you've been on the channel for a while, you know I've talked about wanting to read this book several times. And have I ever? No, I haven't. I know, it's a real problem. Anyway, we are going to be diving into this like fantastical world. I don't know a ton about it, but I do know there's vampires, which I'm fairly intrigued about. The blurb also says that it's going to end on a cliffhanger, so I'm a little nervous about that, but I'm really excited to dive into one of my favorite authors' newest genre. Right, the next book on our list is A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. This is another book that I added back in 2022, and I believe it also has an addiction plot line similar to Addicted to You, but I also know that this one is super, super hyped. I have so many friends who have read this and loved it. From what I can tell based on the blurb, it seems like this one has some second chance going on, and also like lots of drama, which again, we love. And I believe there's going to be some kind of flashbacks into the relationship previously. Again, the blurb doesn't give a ton of information, but it is kind of like metaphorical. So I'm curious to see how much of it is like actually plotline and how much of it is just waxing poetic about kind of what the story focuses on, I guess. Next is Before We Came by Sloane St. James. I've seen this one all over the place as well, and based on the shopping list, not the shopping list, the content warning list, this one has a lot of things that I'm a little nervous about, but I'm intrigued by, so I don't know what that says about me. In this one, we have some hockey, we also have forced proximity and brother's best friend, so count me in. Again, there is a pretty extensive content warning list, so please check that before you dive in if this is one that is also on your radar. Next, we have Not Another Love Song. Yep, by Julie Soto. I keep thinking that the titles don't sound right, and then I look down at my notes and I'm like, that's title. You're correct. I read Forget Me Not by this author early this year, and I absolutely loved it. I think I sent it to like 5 different people because I was like, you have to read this. It was so good. And I'm excited for more from this author. We are following 2 rival musicians. They both play in an orchestra of some kind. I know that one of them plays the cello. They might both play the cello maybe. And so you've got like a rivals to lovers situation, tons of tension from what I've heard. I'm just really hoping that this one delivers like the other one from this author did, because I'm so excited for it. Next is The Dark Light of Day by T.M. Frazier. This one has been on my TBR since 2021, so it is far overdue to get off of the TBR pile and into the red list. All I really kind of know about this one, it does have some serious content warnings, so again, watch those. But the main characters meet while she is sleeping like in a junkyard. She's homeless, and then it describes him as like a badass tattooed biker type of guy, and yes please, I'm so there for that. If you've been here for any amount of time, you know I've been dying to read a good motorcycle romance, so I'm really hoping that this one delivers on that. Next we have Broken Miles by Claire Kingsley, and I actually had a different book by this author on my list, but when I did a little bit more research to kind of get the blurb information and stuff that I've been talking about, I realized that there's a reading order, so I swapped that one for this one because this is the first book in that world. This one is a second chance marriage one, which is definitely intriguing, and the blurb talks about family drama, and if you're noticing a trend, I love the good drama. So I'm definitely intrigued by this one and excited to get into this world because there are books later in the series that I can't wait to read, but I am a stickler for reading orders, so I will start with this one. If you are still here, thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, I would also love it if you would subscribe. We're almost at 100 subscribers, and I would love to hit that goal before the end of 2024. So you can hit subscribe down below, and that would totally make my day. Thank you so much. And if you want to drop a book in the comments below that is your top want to read for 2025, I would love to know what you're planning to read. But let's go ahead and talk about the next one. This is probably the book that I'm most excited for and I've been putting off, and I hate it. I hate that I've been putting it off, and that is Canadian Boyfriend by Jenny Holiday. I feel like I've said this a few times in the last few little chats, but if you've been here for any length of time, you know that I love Joshua Jackson, aka Pacey Witter from Dawson's Creek, aka Charlie Conway from the Mighty Ducks series. And when I came across an ad for this book that told me that Joshua Jackson narrates the male character in the audio version, I never one-clicked so fast in my life. I pre-ordered that sucker. I bought that audiobook. I was so excited. And have I read it? No. No, I have not. This one, we are following our main character, and she kind of makes up a fake boyfriend that she has in Canada, kind of circa middle school, where you'd be like, oh yeah, my boyfriend, he just lives in Canada, so he's really far away, or whatever. And she ends up teaching at a dance school, and there is this little girl there. This is the right book that I'm talking about, right? Yeah, so I was like, am I describing the wrong book? She's also a dance instructor, and there's this little girl, her mother passed away, and her dad is a grumpy, brooding hockey player, but she really connects with this little girl, and things unfold. Obviously, she bonds with the daughter, which means she has to bond with the dad, because of course you do. The blurb also talks about both of them having secrets of some kind, so I love that kind of underlying suspense factor of whatever secrets they may be hiding. So I'm definitely excited to finally cross this one off the list. Next we have Forget Me Not by QB Tyler, and I have not really read, I don't believe, any sort of amnesia romances, but I do feel like typically when there's the amnesia trope, it is her that has forgotten, but in this scenario it's actually him. And the craziest part is that they've actually been divorced for several years, but he lost his recent memories, and so he doesn't know that they're not together anymore. So he still remembers all the good times with her, all of the joy in their marriage, and she knows all of the bullshit that's happened and that they're not together anymore. So hello tension, hello drama. You're here. This is another new author for me, and I've had this book on my TBR since 2022, so I'm so excited to finally cross it off the list. And I feel like it's going to be so fun. But like in a screwed up way. I probably shouldn't say it's going to be fun. I feel like amnesia is not fun. Never mind. Take that out. Next, we have Hate You Always by this author that I'm going to totally butcher her name, so I apologize. Jennifer Sukovic, maybe? I know, more hockey. Shocking. Shocking. I love a good hockey book. It's no lie. And I'm really hoping that I still love hockey books in 2025 because I have so many on this list that are hockey. But it's fine. Everything's fine. In this one, we are following our main character who made like a bucket list of things she wanted to do before her senior year of college. And her brother's best friend finds it in like her room, and he basically vows to like help her achieve all of the things on the list, except some of the things on the list are a little intimate, you know? And so I'm really intrigued. It's also says that it's her younger brother, so it might be reverse age gap. It might be a small age gap. I'm not totally positive, but maybe some definite age gap vibes. And the last book on our list, we made it to 25. Good job. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of me for being able to talk this long. The last one on our list is Lucky Charm by Anne-Marie Meyer. And I have a confession to make. I definitely only have this book on my radar because it was semi-marketed, probably not even by the author, but probably by people who had read it, as like low-key Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce fan fiction, sort of. And I'm so here for it. So here for it. In this one, we are following our main character who is an aspiring singer, and she moves to Nashville, and her neighbor ends up being this like football guy. And from what I understand, they went to high school together, so there might be some second chance vibes. The blurb also says that he used to be best friends with her brother, so I'm curious about what kind of transpired between the two of them. Did I mention it's also fake dating? It's also fake dating, which we love to see. So I'm super excited to read this one, and I'm really hoping that it lives up to kind of like the joy that I feel like it will bring me, especially with Taylor and Travis, because I'm sorry, but I just love them. They're so cute together. All right, friends, that is the 25 books that I am planning to prioritize in 2025. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button down below. I am so close to hitting 100 subscribers, and that would totally make my year for 2024, and I would love to have you here. Let me know below what your #1 book to read in 2025 is that you're planning, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.